So just to show you, this is just the sketch underneath it, so it's in a two-point perspective piece, showing it on a new layer. But just to give you an idea, and I'll demonstrate it, is that this top piece is just a couple of grids that are put together with a shadow underneath it and a grid layer underneath that. So you have three potential sections that can make up that section there. The side panel is just a rectangular section that has a gradient on it. So when you see the gradient, this is the section that it is, and it's just using some of the windows that has the sliders that you can change the contrast and the edges, the clarity of this. You can make it nice and sharp on here, and you can still have some of the gradients in between. The one in front of it is just a matter of three panels on a shape that is a gradient. So it's just trying to show that section. Okay, so it's relatively easy once you get the hang of which part you want to use for the design. So just kind of show this to you in the beginning, taking the rectangle, all kinds of tools that you can use. I'm just going to stay with a fill and just make one of these real quick. So here is, let's see if I back this up, the shape that's made for that piece. We'll try the gradient first. So I have some that have been used. So I already have this one highlighted, and you can see when I click and drag, it'll make that stroke. And what you're trying to do is to have it go horizontally, and ironically it fits right away. So if it didn't, say it was off this angle, for example, you can go right into the gradient editor and just use the piece to match up. At least take the direction, and then once you have the direction, you could click on it and extend it to fit. So it fits like that. And then when you take a look at zooming in with the gradient tool, here's your editor right on the screen. And this is the part where you could adjust these points or take some of them off and build this section up. So you can, if you needed this color, you can just option and move it across, and it'll give you that color. It doesn't take it away, but if you don't hold the option key, it'll move the entire segment. So these are just edges that have been placed inside here. And if you like this gradient, remember to save it in your palette. So inside the editor, scrolling into what the gradients are already evident there, down at the bottom, just add the swatches, and when you click it, it'll add to this piece right here. Okay, so that's a quick one. Coming over on this side, again, just using the pen tool, creating that shape, G for the gradient, and just kind of get something started there. And again, just using the arrow keys, a little easier sometimes to have the computer set it up and just place it down here and line it up so you can kind of get some of the linear parts. And if you want to match this up, you can obviously zoom in and see how close you can get to this section here. So just trying to tighten up this part. It's kind of giving you a little bit of a match. So if that's the piece, now again, this is going to be darker, so I could take some of these off and darken the color right from here. And if that's the color I want, just option and copy it over to this side and take these and drag them right off the window. That'll give you that selection. So just copying these down, duplicating again if I like that one. Just go ahead and add it to the mix there. So that kind of gives you the two side panels using the gradient. Another way is to just create a shape that has a gradient already. Create three more panels, for example. Show it to you. I won't go all out with the color in this one, but there's the panels for this one. So here it is grouped together. And on the tools over here you have scale and rotation. So when you click in here, this is the tool that you can get from here, transform. And let's see if we have this one. Transform has 4 options when it opens up. And when you come over here, you can just skew this part up to the top. And the icon changes for you. So when you do this, it comes right at the top. And these aren't soft or anything like that, so it's just a different way to approach this. Here's the option, vertical, copy it over. So the only trouble, you can't just change this, you have to kind of clip it. So I'm just going to take a pen tool and just build this shape above it. So here's the elements, and if you take the Pathfinder and hit subtract, you'll see it takes out those pieces. So I'm just going to go down to the bottom one, talked a little bit about divide, take the direct selection tool, and just delete that. This residue out here. So that's a way to do it from a different point of view from this side, and you can always come over here and rotate this, take the skew tool, this will skew it up on the one side of it, and you can change the coloring from this one as well. So these two just kind of darken it. So that's 2 different ways to do those side panels. This other one, you're trying to make a shape that has the grid, so we'll start with the grid first, and just taking a rectangle tool, making this relatively long, and placing it like right here, so it compasses this whole surface, rotating it just a little bit, and just option and put a copy away at the end. And I'm going to make it just a little bit narrower so it goes in perspective. And select both of these. Now there's a new tool under Object, Blend, and Make. And when you do this, it puts all these pieces in between. Under Object, Blend again, you have the options. And under Preview, you have specified steps. And you can increase or decrease with previews showing up so you can see the margin. So it goes from thick to thin all the way out. And click OK. So that gives me a section going across. And then taking a look at the front, making a rectangle in the beginning here. And this time just rotating it a little bit. And just do the option and set this so taking a look at the top one, making it a little bit smaller, and then select the beginning and the end, and do the Object, Blend, and Make, and it'll show what it previously had. So I'm just going to go to Object, Blend again to get to the options. Here it is as steps, and here I can click inside and make it a little bit smaller like that. You can also do this by hand. You can set them in by hand and Shift key. So now these are both selected. I want to make them as one piece. So if I hit Pathfinder Unite, it won't let it do that. Overlapping paths, because they're all connected into this blend option. So you have to break the option. So here you can see if you release it, it'll take it back and take it apart. So you don't want to do that. You want to expand it. And it'll do the object and the fill. Hit OK. So now they're all pieces overlapping, so I can just make this one section. And that's what this part is. Okay. So I'm temporarily going to hide this selection. Take the pen tool and just make the top surface of this. And pick on a gradient. And then just go Object, Show All. and that's the selection. So I'm going to click on this rectangle, move it so you can see it selected, and just copy it. Okay, now it's on top of these, so Shift key to select both of them. So I'm just moving it over so you can see that it's selected. And just go to Object and go down to Clipping Mask and Make. And now you have this selection placed onto that piece. And then just go to Edit Paste in Place, and it puts the shape that's on top of it. And just go to Object Arrange, send it to back. Now you have this piece on top of it. So I'm just going to make this a darker gradient. Let's see if I can select this one here. And we could release it. In fact, that's what we'll do. We'll just go to Object, expand that. Let's see if this will give us that shape on top. So you kind of have the texture. And let's see if we can fill that with a, let's go to Object. Okay, so now I have this selected. I can isolation mode and give this a gradient, dark gradient. Come back out of that isolation mode so you can see it has a gradient, and just Option and bring it up a little bit. Now if you click it on here, it fills the gradient mask, fills that piece, but if I double click on it, it's in the isolation mode. And I can give it a light gradient here, and then come back out of there. So now I have this grid system on top of it that fills that piece. Okay, and that's what you're trying to accomplish a little bit onto that stage there. So it's a little bit of ways you can take a look at other ways that you can make this grid. You don't have to actually use the blend. You can just draw it and use the duplicate tool to build that together. But that's just putting in another object menu in there, so the blend is what that part is to make that section. So see about that selection. And all these edges can be softened or made into a blur, but you can get the original idea from there. I'm just giving it the shading and touching it up on that as well.